Hey there everybody, Connor here, welcome back to my channel. I'm that Scottish nerd that brings you Pokemon trading card game content as well as film reviews, gaming content and other entertainment related videos. If any of that appeals to you or you want to check out the rest of my channel along with playlists, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below so that you'll be able to keep up to date with my future videos. Today we're having a look at another expanded deck, and as the title suggests, I'll be using some of the ladder rewards that you get in the Pokemon trading card game online. And the main reward this week or month, as it's coming to a close, the ladder usually lasts around 3 weeks I believe, and this time around we have Incineroar GX. So you're going to be able to earn yourself 2 of these Incineroar GX, as I have done already. And this has the Scar Charge ability, which allows us to put 3 damage counters or 30 damage onto ourselves, and then we get 3 dark energy from our deck straight onto Incineroar. So it's able to set itself up with its energy, and that's going to allow it to start using its Crushing Punch attack for 130 damage and discarding special energy, which can be a useful attack and it's certainly one that you want to consider. But our main attacker that we're pairing with this Incineroar GX is actually Greninja and Zoroark Tag Team GX. So it has the Dark Pulse attack, and that does 30 damage plus 30 more for each darkness energy that we have in play. So you see it's a great combination and they really complement each other well, because Incineroar is going to be able to get you 3 energy out of the deck, and the way that we get Incineroar into play is not actually from evolving, but it is from our GX attack here. So from 2 energy we're able to use the tag team's GX attack, and we get 2 dark Pokemon from our discard pile. We get to put them straight onto our bench, and this includes stage 2 or stage 1 evolving Pokemon. Of course, if you do pay the extra cost with the extra energy, then you're able to also attach energy to those Pokemon from the discard pile, which can be useful. But primarily we want to make use of its base attack and get those Incineroar into play so that on the following turn we can use Dark Pulse for a huge amount of damage. So if we GX and put 2 Incineroar into play onto the bench, and we use both of those abilities, that's going to allow us to get 6 energy into play, along with the energy that we already have on our tag team to use the GX attack and a manual attachment for the turn. That's going to allow us to have at least 9 energy in play, which is going to be a total of 300 damage, and that's going to look to take out the majority of VMAX Pokemon tag teams. And of course we have ways to push this as well. As you'll see, we have some energy acceleration in the form of Max Elixir, which allows us to get energy onto our bench basics, and Dark Patch to recover some of that energy. Another one of the Pokemon that we have here is Zoroark GX. This is a Pokemon that was also on the ladder along with the tag team Zoroark and Greninja. And this just allows us to have a little bit of consistency. If we do choose to get this, or it's an option in the discard, we can use this trade ability, and that allows us to draw 2 cards, as well as its attack can be quite useful, doing 120 damage. Additionally, the Darkrai here was on the ladder at some point, and in the past anyway, so you might have some of those lying around with the tag teams, and its ability allows us to have free retreat on our dark Pokemon, which is excellent. It means that we can switch between our tag teams if one of them takes a hit. And for some supporting Pokemon to attack with or accelerate energy, we have these 2 Yveltal for Oblivion Wing, doing 30 damage and getting an energy into play, as well as Darkrai Prism, which gets 2 energy onto itself if we have them in hand, and this is also hand, so when we play it. Just another way of accelerating energy, as well as we have 1 Crobat V for some additional draw, and 1 Tapu Lele GX, which allows us to search for a supporter card. As for consistency, I've tried to make the deck as consistent as possible, so we have copies of things like Trainer's Mail, Ultra Ball, Nest Ball, Battle Compressor, and Computer Search. These are all cards that are going to allow us to get our Pokemon set up as quickly as possible. We've got 4 counts of Ultra Ball over the 3 counts of Nest Ball, because we do want to be able to discard some of these Pokemon to get them into the discard pile, as well as just searching out any Pokemon that we want and putting it into the hand is really crucial in terms of stuff like Crobat and Tapu Lele, as Nesball is going to put those directly into the bench, so we can't make use of the ability there. Same idea with our supporter cards. We have N, Sycamore and Colress for draw support. We have a little bit of a low count of draw supports, but that's because we have Versus Seeker or VS Seeker in expanded, so we're able to make use of those supporters multiple times, along with only having one Lysander. As you're doing such a huge amount of damage, you're going to be looking to knock out whatever's in front of you anyway, and you don't need too many copies of Lysander. And you'll see we also have one copy of Chaotic Swell and an Ordinary Rod. The Chaotic Swell is really just to have a stadium to counter everyone else's stadium. You'll find that most people play Chaotic Swell in all formats anyway, as it's just a great card and counter to other stadiums if you're not playing a specific stadium. And we also have Ordinary Rod here just to recycle some of our Pokemon and energy, mostly energy if we need to get some extra energy into play. So the deck is just looking to be as consistent as possible. Its strengths are that it is very good at having high damage as well as energy acceleration and good recovery in terms of Dark Patch and Yveltal, getting energy into play throughout the game. And some of its weaknesses are mostly that this tag team only has 250 hit points. That is one of the lower ends of the tag teams anyway, so certainly something to watch out for. And I could see some edits that you could make to the deck where you include some sort of tool to increase its hit points, like maybe a Big Charm or a Fighting Fury belt to get it up by 30 or 40 hit points. That would really help you out, but I've just tried to go for an all-round consistent deck, and hopefully this gives you some inspiration. And you can always go make your own edits if you want to try this deck out, and hopefully you've got some of the cards lying around on your account from previous ladders throughout the years. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, be sure to give it a like, it really helps me out and appreciate it. But let's get into a couple of battles with this deck. My opponent flips the coin, but it looks like we have managed to win. And we're going to take first with this deck, as I do usually suggest that you go second in the expanded format so that you can have so much more options in terms of attacks and supporters. With this particular deck, I would suggest that you go first, as that's going to allow you to get an early energy attachment, hopefully onto a tag team Pokemon, and then from there you can go ahead and attach a second energy on the following turn and use the GX attack, and that's going to set you up for the third turn doing around 300 damage. It may vary depending if you get max elixirs or Dark Patch as well, but looks like we're opening up with a fairly nice hand here. We have a Battle Compressor as well as Tapu Lele for the following turn, so we can Battle Compressor to discard 2 Incineroar, and we have prize 1 but 2 are there to discard, and that's all we need, as well as discarding a supporter card just in case we draw into VS Seeker. Then we can use that as an out to use a supporter. Putting this Chaotic Swell down is going to be great early on as well, so that we can stop our opponent from using any stadiums that they may be playing. So it's difficult to see this Pokemon, but our opponent has Raichu and Alolan Raichu GX, and this is able to do 160 damage as well as paralysis when it becomes your active Pokemon. And with that and the Eevee that's on my bench, it looks like they're probably using the Jolteon GX. They have the Energy Evolution ability on Eevee, allowing them to evolve out of the deck when they attach a basic energy. That's exactly what they've just done here, and as I say, they have a Jolteon GX come into play here. So we do actually top deck that Versus Seeker. I couldn't have predicted it any better. That means that we don't have to put Tapu Lele into play, which is much preferred, and it also gives me the option of using that Zoroark GX if I want to. I think we will just keep to using the 2 Incineroar instead, but we can certainly have a think about it. This hand looks pretty reasonable. I think we want to computer search here, or possibly Ultra Ball. Getting another Pokemon down would be excellent, as well as getting these energy into play. Can't remember if our Darkrai Prism was in here, so we shall discard this Crobat as well as the Ultra Ball. Have a look and see if Darkrai Prism is in the deck. It is. This is a perfect opportunity to make use of Darkrai Prism, as we can attach both of these energy to it. Makes it a relevant attacker as it only needs 2 more energy, as well as getting these energy onto these Pokemon. And considering our hand as well as what my opponent is playing, probably won't be needing to discard energy all that often, as well as we won't need to do a huge amount of damage. So I'm actually going to get this Zoroark into play. Just gives us that option to use its trade ability. So if we do get, say, end or reset stamped to a low hand size, we can use trade to draw out of that quite nicely. As well as its attack doing a maximum of 120 damage, could be useful to finish something off for 2 energy. And since we got that Darkrai Prism into play as well, that's a great way of accelerating energy. It really means that you don't need to get both of your Incineroar into play. As I mentioned, with the use of Max Elixir and Dark Patch, it means that even if you miss your Incineroar, or if you have a situation here where you want to get one Incineroar and one Zoroark, then you can certainly do that, as you have other means of accelerating energy. And of course, these Pokemon are always up to you if you want to cut the Zoroark and not play it at all, or if you don't have it available to you at your disposal, then you can always play something else or just cut it from the deck and put in a different card that you feel would be more useful. But looks like here my opponent has used Guzma as well as a couple of Electro Power to boost their damage, and we'll have to see if they get the knockout. They missed the knockout here on our Zoroark, so we'll be looking to get an energy attachment as well as our Darkrai EX, as well as playing this Max Elixir to get some additional energy onto the field. We do get that energy, we'll put that onto the Darkrai Prism, so it's only 1 away from being able to attack, as well as use this Incineroar so that we can thin the energy of, or thin the deck of some energy. We can't thin the energy, of a deck, that doesn't make sense. We have to thin the deck of energy so that we can get some better draws off of this N. We have a lot of energy acceleration here, so I'm definitely going to be making use of this, as well as drawing the Nest Ball, which is exactly what we needed. Although we do miss having energy attachment for turn onto this Zoroark. So we do have trade at our disposal still. I think I'm going to trade this Yveltal since we do have one in deck still, and we have Ordinary Rod if we need it. We get the computer search, so we can use that to go and search for an energy. Having to discard 2 of our ways of accelerating energy feels bad, but when you need energy, then you just have to go and grab it, and our opponent concedes. They see that they're too far behind, and we're going to be hitting for too much damage. So that's the first game. Let's get into another one. Getting into our second match here, we're able to win the coin flip, and we'll choose to go first. Hopefully this match is a little longer than the previous one, but at least you're able to see the power of the deck in the previous match and the options that using the GX attack brings, as well as the great energy acceleration in Darkrai Prism and our Max Elixir and Dark Patch combo, because the deck's very much like a standard Dark Box, Dark Acceleration deck, but using that GX attack just really cements that power and huge damage that you can build up very quickly in a matter of a very few amount of turns. So this isn't the best hand to work with, as we only have a couple of outs to Pokemon, no real energy acceleration, but at least we can get one of our tag team into play, which we do have in the deck, as well as having our Incineroar in there so that we can hopefully discard those. So well as getting an energy down is going to be useful. And we can Nest Ball and get out a Yveltal just in case we want to make use of that. We'll pass to my opponent. They were able to get a couple of mulligans as we mulliganed a couple times, which is fine, but this next coming turn we're probably going to use Crobat and then our Colress that we have. Unfortunately, our opponent doesn't look like they're going to be benching a whole lot, just using the Beat Catch on Cramorant to search their deck for 2 cards. And they have the Phantoms on the bench, so they're probably going to be evolving that into some sort of Trevenant, so we'll want to look out for that, as there's a Trevenant that has item lock and stops you from playing items, so definitely a consideration there to play around. Ideally we want to find an energy this turn, as well as, you know, get some sort of energy acceleration. I'd love to discard my hand down so that I can draw off with this Crobat, but getting rid of Darkrai Prism doesn't seem too good. We're just going to have to go for it, unfortunately, and we'll get rid of Colress. It is our only supporter, but we want to maximize the draw that we're getting here, and we could actually get Tapu Lele, and that would allow us to get a supporter, so I like that a little better than using our Crobat. We can go ahead and grab ourselves, and that's going to counteract the Beat Catch that my opponent just played, as well as resetting our hand, putting the Dark Patch back into the deck. And we get an angry face from our opponent. They're not happy about us playing an end there. We do hit this Max Elixir, and hopefully we hit the second one, which we do. Playing 14 energy, we do typically hit our Max Elixirs. Also getting a Dark Patch, but we don't have any Dark Energy in the discard at the moment, so I will take this Ultra Ball instead and discard the Incineroar. We could actually grab our Crobat here. Unfortunately, this is going to clog up our bench a little and mean that we can't really effectively GX attack, but we can always use it at some point later in the game, as well as being able to set up some of our other Pokemon here. Getting in some early pressure, doing 150 damage is great, and we'll look to knock out this Cramorant next turn, hopefully if they don't retreat it or switch out in any way. As I say, the reason I didn't GX attack there is we don't want to be falling behind if they are using something annoying like Trevenant, and also since we only have one bench space available, you would ideally like to use the GX attack when you're getting full value out of it and putting 2 Pokemon into play rather than just the one. So my opponent did play that Hypnotoxic Laser and get a heads on it, so we have went to sleep unfortunately, and we don't have any way of switching out of that. So all we have to do is hope that we flip heads going into our turn here. And they did get the Trevenant and has Forest's Curse, and that makes it so that our active Pokemon, or when it's their active Pokemon, sorry, it means that we can't play any item cards. So it does have to be in the active spot for us to not be able to play item cards, and then it also has that annoying attack which does damage to the active and spreads 20 to 2 of our bench Pokemon. Not super relevant, but certainly the item lock will be annoying. Although, as I say, we don't have any way of switching out here at the moment, and we'll just have to hope to get ahead. Unfortunately, we don't get that. It is a Tails from us, and all we can really do here is continue to attach energy, putting it onto the Darkrai. Seeing that Swablu makes me think that they're going to be playing the Altaria, which prevents GX and Pokemon V from attacking it. Since Darkrai EX is neither of those, it's an EX Pokemon, that means that we can attack it with our Darkrai. Also, our Yveltal will be able to attack it if we choose to do that. unfortunately we're not able to do a whole lot, and I would just wait and see what my opponent does here. All we can really do is hope that we flip heads and we'll be able to attack them and take a knockout here. My opponent's playing a computer search of their own, looking for a specific card of some sort. What that card will be is a mystery to us all until they actually play it, but only having a 2-card hand, you got to think that they're going to play a supporter, but they don't. They play the Rotom Bike, which draws them until they have 6 cards, but it does actually end their turn. We do hit the heads and we're able to wake up from our slumber, attaching energy and putting it onto the Darkrai, making sure that that is set up is going to be really good here, I think. And unfortunately we don't get to make use of our computer search or dark patch. I would just prefer to use our Sycamore so that we have a maximum amount of cards available to us, as well as using Dark Pulse here, and we do 420 damage. So we're taking out that Trevenant. It's no longer stopping us from playing item cards, which is great. My opponent comes in here with this Fappy. Don't know what kind of attack they're going to be using here, or if they're going to go into the Donphan. But they do get the Altaria into the play on that Swablu. Also grabbing a Mr. Mime with Bench Barrier, so when we use Darkrai's Night Spear attack, we're not going to be able to do damage to the bench, unfortunately. And it does look like they have a Donphan, which they're able to evolve, and it has this spinning turn attack which does 40 damage, and they can switch out with a Pokemon on their bench, but as you can see here they have a bunch of energy. They're probably going to be looking to use Wreck at some point to get a big knockout on every Pokemon, as we're mostly weak to fighting. But this makes sense as they have stuff like Trevenant and Altaria, so they're looking to use that spinning turn attack to do damage and then switch into an annoying Pokemon that they can put into their active position. Unfortunately though, we do have the Darkrai EX, so if they go into the Altaria, we're going to be able to do some damage to that. However, they will then be able to do some big damage to us as we're weak to fighting, as I said. They do get the heads on Hypnotoxic Laser once again though, and they're using that spinning turn, and they get a heads on our coin flip, but we have 210 damage on us. We're at very close range of being knocked out soon, and I would much rather like to go in with a Yveltal here so that we can do some chip damage, as this Altaria has 110 hit points. Our Night Spear only does 90 here, and that's not quite doing enough to get the knockout, so we're going to retreat into our Yveltal, as well as if he'll put down a second one so that we can go and attach to that. We're also going to use this Ultra Ball so that we can get rid of an energy, and when we Oblivion Wing we'll be able to accelerate that energy. We don't particularly need anything from the Ultra Ball, as we're going to Battle Compressor these two Pokemon away anyway. And getting a second Battle Compressor in the discard pile is probably going to be our best bet here. Also a Dark Energy could be good. We still have one Dark Patch in the deck, so we'll get a Dark Energy into the discard and play this Colress so that we can draw a nice hand of 10 cards. We do get pretty much all of our energy, unfortunately, so this Max Elixir is not going to do us a whole lot of good, but we can still look to play these cards out. So we do fail that. We also have the Battle Compressor, and we can get rid of the Ultra Ball since we don't need that. And we'll stick with the Oblivion Wing for 30, as well as attaching an energy onto our benched Yveltal. That'll get us set up to be able to get a knockout on this Altaria the next time it comes into our opponent's active position. But it looks like they have that second Donphan ready to go. Also getting the training center into play, which increases their evolution's HP. It increases it so that it's actually going to be out of range if we try and attack with our Darkrai, unfortunately. So we'll have to go in with our Yveltal, or perhaps use Oblivion Wing once again. They're attaching a Fighting Fury Belt, but this only works for basic Pokemon, so this isn't actually going to increase the HP of Altaria whatsoever. A little bit of a strange move there from my opponent. They get their third Hypnotoxic Laser, also hitting us with the spinning turn, but we have resistance, which is good, and we're unfortunately still staying asleep. So there's not much we can do here other than continue to attach energy onto our Pokemon, and we'll just have to pass over to our opponent. We do get the heads going into their turn, so hopefully they don't get any kind of a knockout or maybe a Lysander or something like that. We just have to keep trying to protect our main Pokemon that give up the most prizes, and that is our tag team Greninja and Zoroark, which is on our bench. Looks like my opponent doesn't have a switch card, and we also have the Chaotic Swell so that we can get rid of that training center. If we have a look here, our Trevenant is weak to Dark, so we could actually knock it out with our other Yveltal if we so choose. That could put us at risk of them coming in with Donphan and hitting us with Wreck, although that will limit them as they'll be losing a lot of energy if they choose to do that. We'll begin to attach energy to our Tapu Lele GX, since it's one of our Pokemon that's not weak to fighting, as well as I could consider knocking out that Cramorant since we have Lysander, or alternatively taking out the Donphan. So if we take a look, the Donphan has 130 hit points. We could potentially go in with our tag team. They also have the Stone Energy, which makes them take 20 less damage, so they're taking 40 less damage, which means they effectively have 170. So our tag team would take the knockout here, but they could get the response. It's going to limit their attack, so I think we're going to go for that over anything else here. Also, having the VS Seeker in hand means that we can use Lysander again on our following turn. It's a very precarious matchup for sure, and just going to be making sure that we try and play it out the best of our abilities. Speaking of ability, they're coming in with Altaria once again. They're really limiting themselves, as you would think they would be playing stuff like Floatstone and this Fighting Fury Belt on the Altaria. It's not doing them any good, as they would much prefer some sort of switching tool such as Floatstone or even an air balloon, something of that effect. But this puts us in a great position here, as my opponent doesn't have an attack, and we can go in with Lysander once again. Alternatively, we could knock out the Altaria, but taking out their other Donphan is going to leave them with virtually no attackers. So we shall versus Seeker and take out that Donphan once again with our tag team. And you gotta imagine that Donphan is their main attacker and they don't really play energy to attack with Trevenant, but you never know, they could just start attacking with Trevenant if they have the psychic energy, or alternatively they could build up 2 energy on an Altaria, and that's going to allow them to do 60 damage if they are able to do that. So they do get down a second Altaria as well as a Fampi, as well as an attachment to that Fampi, so they're looking to set up a Donphan once again. But we just have the outs already in our hands, we're not getting disrupted at all. My opponent's using cards like Cynthia to shuffle their own hand, as well as Rotom Bite to draw cards. So we can use Lysander once again. We have a Dark Patch here, so we can get more Dark Energy into play, as well as attaching to this Yveltal, and my opponent sees the writing on the wall. They concede, and we take another victory against a deck which I would say was probably favourable, but we just had the Lysanders at the right times, and my opponent wasn't able to get set up in the way that they wanted. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, guys, be sure to leave a like, as I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.